I call the meeting to order at 6:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Berman?
Here.
Trustee Luther?
Here.
Trustee McNeil?
Here.
Present.
Trustee Masek?
Here.
Trustee Peterson?
Present.
Mayor Gardner?
Present. All trustees here. Mayoral report. Veterans Committee update. There have been renderings presented to us that are excellent. I believe the committee is going to show it at our next meeting. They have a group meeting on July 6th, I believe, to talk about Manhart and the engineering. So that project is continuing to move forward. Next is the Antioch Queen portrait presentation. So I guess that involves me too, but the Queens, you could come up here. And when's the end of the term? Okay, August 5th. So you got the concert season. All right.
Stay down.
Geez, I get to be in this picture. They're gonna say, who's the guy that like in the car accident?
Awesome. All right, thank you. How many more times? Thank you. All right.
We plan.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Next is citizens wishing to address the board. Trustee Peterson, can you pass the list down? If you haven't signed up, still can sign up here. I know we have one person signed up, Libby. So Madam Clerk will read the ground rules for the citizen addressing the board portion.
The opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have a comment to make about the business of the board. The board appreciates hearing from stakeholders and values your thoughts and questions. The board strives to make the best decisions for the village, and public input is very helpful. The board must protect the civility and decorum of this meeting. Please be respectful for the duties of the board and the democratic process in your comments tonight. Please state your name and address your comments to the board. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please be factual and courteous. And the board requests that you do not make statements that are personally disrespectful or condescending to members of the board or staff. To the extent multiple speakers are addressing a single issue, the mayor reserves the right to limit the number of speakers making public comment of a repetitive nature and or limit the amount of time for public comment. The board does not respond to comments or attempt to answer questions during the public comment period. First, we have Libby Dykschel.
Hello.
Hi, so my name is Libby Dykschel, and some of you might know me because my two of my daughters, Felicity and Gus, love to run around Antioch with their sunflowers. So I know that many have received in the community sunflowers from them. I'm here because I would like to start more dialogues about accessibility within the town of Antioch. My family and I, we love Antioch so much, and we love participating in events, and we love the businesses, and so many local businesses have been so kind to our family and to my daughters, and they mean so much to me and all of us. But there is a lot of issues with accessibility, especially regarding the downtown area. I know that you are aware of these problems. And I just want to offer myself to any of you, or if you have any businesses that you would recommend for conversations about how to make stores more accessible. I know that, and I greatly appreciate the historic nature of our downtown, but there are a lot of smaller things that are less expensive that stores and businesses can do to become more accessible. But I would like to just have a chance to start more dialogues about accessibility. Obviously, there's a lack of parking. There are businesses that I cannot physically get into. And it's just something that I want to be able to participate in more. There were years ago, my husband and I, we did the beer and barbecue events walking around downtown town, and I absolutely loved it. And I would love to be able to participate in events like that. Even some places like down by the band shell, I know that there's some accessible parking there, but going from there up to the businesses is very difficult because that is very steep. But it's important for everyone to understand that while there are ADA laws, they are very much the bare minimum that is needed for accessible entrances and accessibility to buildings. And it's not just about making buildings bare minimum accessible, because you can, slap a ramp on anything or hang a handicap sign on any parking spot, but it's about making it accessible, access with dignity. Like, people need to feel like they are still human and they are still getting the dignity that they deserve when they access a building. Because sure, someone can hold the door open, or somebody can help you up the steps, or people can push tables out of your way, but it takes away the dignity of the person when such extravagant accommodations need to be made. To be accessible means that a disabled person should be able to access the business or the venue independently. And I think that's something that people kind of fail to understand. So my hope is to inspire conversations. I've talked to members of the Parks Department and a few different members of our community, and just encouraging the more communications and more conversations about ways that we can move forward with accessibility. So again, my name is Libby, and I am always here and always happy to have conversations with anyone to talk about ways that we can move forward.
Thank you, Libby. Yes.
Your Honor, yes, I know we're not supposed to respond.
Sure.
I just want to say a couple quick things. I was in Evansville today, and I'm always thinking about your daughter, and I really appreciate you dropping off the sunflowers for me. They had a little sunflower pin, and a sunflower name tag, and a sunflower wristband. They were giving out at the airport this morning. I picked them up, and I was going to reach out to you so I could give that back to your daughter. So if you could either email me or message me later, we could arrange that.
That would be one.
I'm glad you're here tonight. It's kind of serendipitous. Also, though, Your Honor, if accessibility has always been a big issue of mine, so if you want to put something together, I'd
absolutely
be part of it.
And Libby, as she said, she came to the Parks Board, and there's some discussions with, as the Parks Master Plan. Obviously, our first park is inclusive, but using Libby's knowledge and help in those projects. And then I also told her, make sure she takes me up on it, and anybody else. I really want to walk Main Street and Lake Street and see where the problem areas are. So I appreciate you coming back, and I'll make sure that gets set up. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Have a good day. And I did turn the air to 60. Still like this. All right. Anyone else on the list? That's it. Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone is requesting to be removed from the consent agenda?
Your Honor.
Yep.
I'd like to, just for discussion, remove 5 and 6.
All right. I have a request to remove 5 and 6. So for consent items 1 through 4, do I have a motion and a second to approve those items? So move. Motion, Trustee Bluthart. Second, Trustee Pierce. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Bluthart,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. So 5 and 6 are items on the consent agenda. I appreciate that for discussion. I have no problem with these special event licenses this year, but for the record, I just would like the board to know, and everybody to know, that there have been discussions with the internally with these, with our events, that at some of the bigger events and maybe all the concerts, based on the amount of money we're spending on bands, that the sales of beverages would be coming back to the village and that the tips would be kept by the service organizations. So I have no problem approving it this year, but I just want to make sure, not that it's 100%, but that there's awareness that that program may change next year. And I don't want to disappoint a group. I want them to know up front that it's just probably could be a 1-year thing. All right, any other discussion on that?
Would we have to do that by ordinance then?
What aspect of it?
Just that we would be getting the revenue from the liquor sales?
We could pass an ordinance to cover that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we'll see as the events evolve, there'll be discussion between, in the fall for next year. So I just want to, so if there's no other discussion on that, do I have a motion and a second to approve what were items 5 and 6 on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion, trustee Peterson. Second, trustee McNeil. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Aye.
6 voting yes, motion carries. On to regular business. Consideration and approval of payments of accounts payable as prepared by staff in the amount of $1,748,514.09. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion, trustee Peterson.
Second.
Second, trustee Berman. Discussion.
Can we, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Can we just get
A rundown.
Anything over the 10?
Big ones are, that's like 3 or 4 times what we normally spend.
Yeah.
Certainly. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm trying to get to the page. So invoices over 10,000. There's a $14,000 invoice to ComEd. There is a $258,000 invoice to JJ Henderson for the repairs on the clarifier. There's a $10,354 for legal fees. Our rain for rent, which is a diversion at the plant, $39,000. And then there's a series of Bank of New York, which are bond issue services. So it looks like there's almost 1.2 million in bond service, and that's debt service on I don't remember exactly which issues they are. There's a 2019 series and the 2022. The big one is the recent bond sale for the improvement fund related to the business districts.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next item, number 8, consideration and approval of an ordinance amending sections 4-2B-10 and 4-2B-11 of the Antioch Village Code regarding liquor license fees for wineries located in the village of Antioch. Ordinance number 23-06-12. Do I have a motion and a second waiving the second reading?
I make a motion to approve and waive the second reading.
Motion, trustee Pierce.
Second.
Second, trustee Bluthart. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Number 9, consideration and approval of an ordinance authorizing the village administrator to sell, salvage, or otherwise dispose of equipment. Ordinance number 23-06-13. Do I have a motion and a second waiving the second reading?
So moved.
Motion, trustee Peterson.
Second.
Second, trustee McNeil. Any discussion on this item? Not, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Aye.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is consideration and approval of a resolution awarding the bid for the 2023 road program to Payne and Dolan in the amount of $1,055,681.77. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion, trustee Masek.
Second.
Second, trustee McNeil. Jim, for the record, was the budget item on this 1.1?
Yeah, I believe 1 million was budgeted.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Hand up.
I have two discussion points all around Anita Avenue. The first one is we're once again repairing and we're resurfacing Anita, and I know we did it within. It looked like my memory is like 10 years ago. I'm not exactly
I believe
sure.
it was. I look back. I think it was 15 or 17 years ago. I have that document.
It's looking pretty rough, and we have a lot of truck traffic on Anita. And I've asked before, and I really think that we should be looking at how we can control that truck traffic on there, whether we restrict the northern end by the park for the safety of the kids and the people playing baseball there. I've asked that, and I'd like to have that reviewed so we can maybe reduce a little bit of the truck wear and tear on that road if possible. And then the other issue I have is right there at Centennial Park, there's a section where it's grass sometimes, and sometimes it's gravel, where everybody tries to park their cars. Can we kind of look and see if we could spread that in to make a formal parking area so people aren't parking half in and half off the road? They're actually parking off the road. You know,
Yeah, we can.
Can you
we
envision
talk
what I'm
to the engineer and the contractor and see if there's a reasonable price within the budget to extend that out?
I just every time I drive by, their cars are half on the road, half off. Kids are jumping out of the cars. If we could give them a little bit of extra space to park, that'd be, I think, advantageous to everybody.
All right. Any other discussion items? All right, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the administrator's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to start with our quiet zone. Many of you know that the trains do not have to blow their horns through Lake County on the Canadian National Line. The quiet zone is approved by the ICC and the FRA. It has been reviewed, and I think it's reviewed every 5 years for recertification. It did not, our quiet zone in total, it's looked at as a singular quiet zone between Buffalo Grove and Antioch. And in total, it doesn't qualify without upgrades. So we had budgeted an upgrade to the North Avenue crossing, which is primarily the installation of concrete barrier medians to prevent any traffic from driving around the gates. It was originally estimated about $50,000. I budgeted $100,000. The bids, which were aggregated, meaning all Buffalo Grove took the lead, was going to bid all of the work at all of the different crossings required as one package. Those bids came in extremely high. I think our crossing came in at $160,000. Buffalo Grove unilaterally rejected all the bids. I got that phone call this week. I was basically told we're on our own to get it rebid and constructed by September. So I'm letting the board know that me and Director Heimbrodt will be scrambling a little bit to try to find a contractor to get that crossing to where it needs to be to qualify the quiet zone. I don't think anybody wants to hear train horns going off in town again. So we're going to do what's necessary, hopefully bring the cost down. I just want to bring that to the board's attention. Any questions on quiet zone? I've attended a number of meetings since we last met. We had our pre-construction meeting for the downtown open space redevelopment project, which I think we need a name for. It's kind of a mouthful calling it that, but the pre-con went very well. Bowler is mobilizing and getting their subs together and executing insurance documents. They are now holding the contracts for execution. I'm hoping they get executed very shortly here, and we're doing everything we can to get them on site and working. We also had a meeting with utility companies, ComEd, AT&T, and Comcast. The project calls for all of the utilities to be buried. Nothing's going to be overhead. And it's going to require relocation of certain utilities. And we've been working with ComEd. They take the lead on this. ComEd's the big dog in that group. We've been working on this since January. with their design team and their engineers. We still don't have an approved design. So we're doing everything we can. Again, Director Heimbrod is taking the lead on that, but we're doing everything we can to get utilities relocated, at least a plan for their relocation so work can commence. So that's been taking up some time.
Existing lines?
Yeah, the existing overhead will be put underground, but there are some direct bury underground lines there. There's a transformer on Orchard, which is getting relocated and reused. I mean, the good news is we're able to reuse that transformer.
Well, for instance, here in Harbor, you get in the back, new subdivision, that all those lines in the back should have been underground, and somehow that never happened. And you got above ground in a new subdivision.
I think the utilities feeding the existing homes along the lake were left in place, and all of the utilities feeding the new homes and lots are underground.
Right, but they're not on their side of the road.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true, and someone's got to work with ComEd, move if they're feeding those homes, move the poles over their yards, move that easement. The easement's on the wrong side of the road.
I'll look into that.
That's never going to get done. I understand that. If we had a good attorney, he'd get it done.
Oh my God.
So he's a good attorney. He's a great attorney. What?
Thank you.
Oh, he's a good attorney. He'll get it done. Why can't you believe I said that, Scott?
All right, Jim.
Get it done.
Okay, so work on the clarifier continues. There is an extra probably coming. The subgrade under the slab is contaminated with sludge and clay. It was partially anticipated. We did have a contingency for that, but it looks like the recommendation from the geotech is to remove about 6 inches of the contaminated stone and soil, replace it with clean stone, install some fabric. It will enable drainage to better flow under that slab. And we're installing pressure relief valves in the slab. So it's going to enable us to function better. It will result in a change request. It's fairly minor, like $25,000, you know, on a $1 million something job. I wouldn't view it as a major issue, but that's coming. We did a Rodney Atkins recap meeting and went over how, you know, what went well, what didn't go well. Not too much didn't go well. I think it was a pretty big success all in all. But we have some ideas moving forward on how we're going to manage bigger events like that. And we also have been planning the 4th of July festivities at the state bank, the run, the parade, fireworks, for the party in the park. So I've been working on all that. And in addition to that, I've been working on interviews. So we have made a selection and accepted an offer from Mark Searle accepted an offer for the business development manager. It's expected to start mid-July. There's a full-time community service officer in the budget. PD is working on doing background on a candidate they are likely to make an offer to. So that's in the works. And then we had a really good response to the assistant village administrator position. I think we got 12 or so applications. We selected 4 for interviews. And then of those 4, 3 were invited back for second interviews with a larger panel, including the mayor and our attorney. We have 1 more coming Friday. So more to come on that. So
I got a question for you.
Sure.
I had everybody get the letter. We only budgeted for that position 120. You went way over budget without the board's approval.
Well, nothing's been spent yet, but yeah, it was negotiated at an amount. Yes.
Board approval didn't require that salary, what you offered them. I don't understand how you offered a salary. We budgeted 120 and you offered them more money. Plus you gave them an expense account. We didn't authorize that in the budget. So I'm a little confused where that extra money comes from. For good government, where did that extra money come from? Did we take it from? The only reason I'm asking, we're losing police officers to other communities because they're underpaid. And we're giving money that's outside the budget It wasn't budgeted. I was kind of miffed by that. We offered in a budget a salary. I didn't even see the post on this person. He could be the best person for the job. Good government. We allowed $120,000 in the budget, and all of a sudden this gentleman is getting more plus an expense account. Doesn't even make sense. I don't understand how the authority outside the board went to that extreme.
Can we just define what position we're talking about, because it's mentioned
Mark.
to administrator?
So it's
Okay,
the
Business development manager.
business development and basically the events also is what the position came out to be. So yeah, and there was some heavy negotiations on that. It wasn't intentional to that number came way down. There was a final take it or leave it offer number, and also I'll consider that when we're looking at the candidates for this other position as we look at the total amount spent on these. But we could talk about it more probably in executive session too, a little bit if necessary. But
well, understand that many things in the budget, some come under, some come over. I'm confident that there's going to be sufficient funds in the budget. We also always have a contingency line item in our budget. So I don't think it's really the question is, can we afford it? Yes, we can. I understand your question because it didn't go to the board. As many of the hires here do not. I negotiate salaries all the time, and I don't always bring them to the board.
Jim, I heard about this from other people. Got a lot of heat on it from other people. I didn't know about the increase. I knew the budget item, didn't know the increase. So we do have to go to executive session on it. I didn't know the other part until I got the letter this afternoon that we went above the budget item. It was miscommunicated to me. And I don't know if the other board members knew. That's why I had Lori the clerk send it to everybody. I didn't know about it. I didn't even see the job posting. So I looked at the duties of it, and it looks like we got a lot of people in their positions now overlapping what their job. So I'm a little confused. And I'm a little confused on, okay, moving forward, good government is, we went through this we've had, and I don't want to mention names through retail strategies and whatnot and everything else. And I'll just mention people aren't here, Jim Parks and stuff and whatever. But if we have a matrix to make sure we're spending the money, taxpayer money, because I had a lot of grief that we got the matrix to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. Retail strategy, we spent $40,000 a year and we got zero return out of that. And we spent that for how many years? 5 years? 4 years? 4 years we spent.
I don't think it was 4 years. I think it was
and they had all the connections with all the corporations down in Tennessee and whatever. I just want to have the matrix so that's brought back to the board so we can bring that back to the people who are responsible to the constituents, the citizens of Antioch, that this is justified. Because I was a little miffed that we went where I believe this gentleman's if we look at the salaries, and I don't know if the new trustees understand what salary 5 is. I don't think they understand. I don't think they understand, is he making more than some of our directors right now, some of our top paid deputy chiefs or other people or chiefs of police or Danny, people that have been around. It's just a Seinfeld episode where George's secretary makes more than the boss. I don't know. Or maybe we have to go into executive session and go through all this.
Trustee Pierce.
I just want to say, someone in support of Trustee Masick, I found out about this whole thing through phone calls and text messages and emails, Facebook messengers. What's going on in the village? Who we hiring? And what's this guy's position? What's his money? I'm like going, kind of. So then I'm scrambling trying to find out what the story is. So I think we need to have better communication when we're hiring, especially for positions like that. And I think Trustee Mason's probably right. We need to have an executive session to discuss the hiring and the pay structure and everything of that nature.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
Real quick, obviously I guess we'll defer. I think we should at this point in time defer all items going forward on this topic until we go into closed session. I do want to say one thing for the record, that the posting was made in accordance with custom of the village.
Yeah, it was posted.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Policy.
Yeah. That we follow our policies. And we'll go, when we normally go into closed session, we'll go into closed session. We discuss, obviously, under Section C1 of the Open Meetings Act. We can talk about the performance of employees and related issues.
That's all I had tonight.
No more good news. I'm
kidding. Not tonight.
All right. Thank you. All right. Village clerk report.
I'm going to send out an email to the board, but just keep in mind to look at your calendars for the next quarterly meeting. We're looking at August 18th or 25th. Those are both Fridays. If you'd prefer a different day, let me know, and what time you would prefer. We've done either 9 to 2 or 12 to 4. So just respond to my email with what works best for you and your schedules. That's all.
Department reports. First one is parks.
Good evening, everyone. First is the park board. We had a park board meeting last week, and they are recommending to you that for the 4th of July parade, we have a siren-free zone, meaning no fires, fire, police, sirens, horns, from the start of the parade all the way to Orchard. But all music, bands, anything else can play that during that whole area. I don't know how anyone feels about that. If that's long enough.
Just the sirens from the
start of the parade to Orchard.
Okay.
They did that last year. It was smaller. Yes. Okay. And it was very, very crowded in that area. Yeah. So we have extended it all the way to Orchard now. And it's just sirens, not music and, bands and that kind of stuff. I think
the parents of the children and a lot of people who have hearing issues would really be grateful for that.
Yeah. Spread it out. There are 68 entries in our parade this year. That is what we have right now. Also, I'm happy to tell you about a partnership we are forming with the Shining Abilities. It's an organization that came to our park board meeting also. Shining Abilities is a volunteer-led organization that promotes a safe and positive environment while empowering our friends to see their unique and limitless potential. Shining Ability is currently serving over 70 athletes through the Northern Illinois Special Olympics Agency. Their need is for space for programming and for their day program, recreational activities and their day program. We partner with D34 for gym space, so they will come under us and hopefully able to run their programs with us in conjunction with us in our brochure. And then also we have reached out or working with the township at the senior center to see if they can get meeting space on weekends and evenings at the senior center also. So it's just a new partnership we are, and I'm looking forward to working with them. They were a part of an SRA, which is Special Recreation Association, and it was run out of Round Lake Park District, and it disbanded. So it left all these special need athletes with a place to recreate. So hopefully Antioch will be the place they come. Another Hitchcock Design came back with some of their preliminary needs, and I just want to give you the top 5 that were in there. Was expand multi-use trails, amenities beyond useful life, recreation center, indoor recreation space, update existing facilities, update and improve lower satisfactory programs. So we will go on. Those are some of the top 5. We'll go on and put strategies in place. And once that document has been created, we will share it with you, the board. And lastly, I would like to acknowledge some of our Aqua Center staff. We had a incident at the Aqua Center, and a young adult had lost his footing in the vortex, bumped his head, became unconscious. And as per Commander Smith, the quick response of our staff was huge, and they pulled him from the water, gave him CPR till the ambulance came here. And I just want to acknowledge the names of them. It was lifeguard Hattie Lupke, Sam Adams, and concession manager Alex Rydell. And I just am very appreciative of their training, their quick thinking, and their bravery. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I got one thing for you.
Yes, sir.
So we got the 4th of July coming up. I know this one's coming here. We got parking spots with flower pots. So it's going to be a crowded downtown area. And we usually don't have a lot of good parking spots when people come up for the fireworks. Flower pots necessary to take up parking spots.
Oh, you mean here on the parklets?
Yeah. And just,
Dennis, is that an easy removal?
you know, it's,
Yeah, well, what we did for the Atkins concert, we just pulled them off, so we made those. We'll do the same.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mary. Next is Jim Moran, Communications.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, members of the public. Just real quickly, some updates on some stuff. A while ago, I had told you about we were looking into a partnership with the Lake County Workforce Development Program on getting some summer help for some of our special events. I'm excited to say our Summer Youth Employment Program kicked off today. We have 2 high school students, one's from Lakes and one's from Grays Lake North High School, that are working with our special events and parks department for the next 6 weeks, helping out with special events with some of the summer day camp and other projects as needed. I'm excited to kick off this program. And my previous place where I worked, we had a pretty large program with the Lake County Workforce Development Program to have high school kids working for the village. And this is a feeder into potential employees down the road for our parks and other departments. I know we have a current public works employee that came through a similar program through Lake County Workforce Development that now works for the village. So hopefully we'll see that happen. So that kicked off today. And the best part of the program, it's funded completely by a grant that the county gets and administers. So there's no expense for us. So that started off today. Our concerts have been going extremely well. I know most of you are out at Rodney Atkins, and I just real quick want to give kudos to my colleagues behind me. It was a team effort to pull off a concert that size. We had roughly 5,000 people downtown, and it couldn't have happened without every department and just about every employee in every department coming together, putting in extra time and making it happen. So thank you to these guys, and thank you everybody that came out to the show. Other concerts that we've had, the Complex the next week and Guru's last week, both had pretty large audiences. Tomorrow, God willing and weather willing, we'll have Libido Funk Circus at the Bandshell, which I expect to be another large crowd. Other stuff to keep on your radar and on your calendar, August 25th, I'm working with Barbara to promote the chamber golf outing. So make sure that's on your calendar. Also, Taste of Summer is coming up in a couple weeks. Back to the concerts, I almost forgot. Right after the 4th of July, we're partnering with WXRT to bring 3 nights of concerts to the Bandshell on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Attendance-wise, it's not going to be nearly the size of a Rodney Atkins concert. I expect these to be about the size of a large Thursday night concert downtown, so it's not going to put a strain on staff or our resources as a village, but give the village a lot of visibility and bring new people downtown. Just a couple other notes here. I'm working with American Outfitters. Hopefully soon I'll have an online store through them that if village employees, staff members, whomever, board members want to buy a polo or something with the logo for the village, we'll have an online store that'll be easy to use. I'll have a link for everybody once that's up. And then the final thing I've been working on is our groundbreaking ceremony for July. I should have a save the date out by tomorrow for that. So we're planning the agenda and getting the invites out.
You know the date, right? We have the date though, correct?
Yeah. So it's going to be July 28th.
Friday, July 20th.
Yeah.
11 a.m.
At 11 o'clock.
Mark it on your calendars.
My birthday.
All right, well, we'll bring you.
Easy to remember.
Did you have anything more? Yeah. Trustee Pierce, did you have something?
No, I was going to ask what the date was so I could hope to be there.
All right. That's it. All right. Thank you. All right, next is Public Works. Jenny.
Thank you. Well, since last time, we are continuing to do basically landscaping and grounds maintenance, wrapping that up. And you may have noticed a couple of the utility repairs we had along 83. We're pouring concrete in those tomorrow, along with the fire station bench that Lions Club donated.
Thank you.
With another spot over by the senior center that is part of the bike path that was very busted up. So hoping to have all that wrapped up for the 4th of July for foot traffic. Over here at the tank, you may have noticed all the landscaping was removed. The organization that basically repainted the tank, refurbished it, they also wanted to redo the fascia, the brick that's on, and then they will be doing some planting of landscape. So just so you know what's going on at that location. The other item, along with the road program, I've met with a crack sealing company contractor that actually bid through Lake County Municipal League, took them on some of our roads, and I hope to be introducing that this year, where within budget and where is most reasonable to apply. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions?
I got a question.
Okay.
Maybe I'm missing that. Didn't that water well tower 7 before Verizon touched it? Didn't that have a light on the top?
Yeah.
For planes?
Yeah.
Does it? I don't think it has one now. They monkey with
Okay, I'll check that.
But they all do.
Yes.
I think they took that light down when they did the Verizon monkey with it.
Okay. I will look into that.
Unless it's just me. Light's not blinking up here.
Trustee Pierce.
If you don't know, I happen to be around flowers a lot, unfortunately, most of the time. But my wife, when we drive through town, keeps commenting on how great the flowers look this year and how big they're getting. So please pass on to the guys. I see them out there watering with their little truck all the time. That it is noticed and they are appreciated. Nothing's worse than when they're dead, scraggly, rotten looking red flowers. So they're looking nice. Please thank the guys.
Thank you. All right. Next is finance. Finance Director Zeta Torres.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Tonight, not so much to say about finance, but I did send you an email later this afternoon with the financial reports. In the attachment, you have 5 reports. One of them is the Treasurer's report. And each report that I indicated on your email gives you some detail to help you understand and read the reports. They're not user-friendly. They come off the system. But anything I could do better for you so that you can understand what I present to you, I'm always open for discussion. So the Treasurer's report is for the end of May, and it has all the cash balances, all the ins and outs. I also provided you what the system calls a revenue report. That report provides you all the revenues we've received by the fund. Also, you have what's called a budget report. A budget report is really a budget expense report, which shows you all the expenditures. You also have what's called, I started to provide you capital project report, which is a construction in progress report since I started working here, letting you and allowing you to see where we are on the progress with expenditures, what's remaining. I also provided you on that attachment is a bond expenditure report so that you can see all the expenses thus far that we have spent for capital projects with the bond 22. I also provide you on that report the interest earned on the bond, in additionally the available cash. Weeks ago, I also sent you this email, the full email attachment of this book. I also created hard copies for all of you. It has some great information. You're privy to the cosmetic stuff we put in there. It doesn't come out as nice through email. So we have 4 books that need owners, if you did not pick up your book, I have them here tonight. Please take them. It has great information. It has the tabs, it's easy for you to find stuff, and also information that every year we're going to try to make it better. I'm also finalizing the appropriation ordinance, and I want to just raise a point on that because some of you may be new to the appropriation ordinance or don't recall. That's okay. It's only once a year. So this is our operating budget. This is the budget that gives us the day-to-day operations and how should we operate in the village. We have the appropriations ordinance, which is by legal statute, it is the legal spending limit. So what you will see in the appropriation ordinances, the numbers are going to be really high, especially now that we have construction going on. We're really not sure when we budget what's going to be engineering, what's going to be legal. So I have to take in up those numbers more than you usually see, just so that we could be in compliance. So please do not be surprised. We're not spending all that money. We are spending what you agreed on with this budget. This is the operating budget, which is what we will operate on our day-to-day activity. The appropriation ordinance is, oops, we forgot to budget something, or this project came above what we put in the operations budget. So I just wanted to highlight that because you'll be seeing it in the future. Thank you.
I didn't get
Oh, okay, you could get one. Okay. Anybody else want to confess? Okay, thank you.
I'm not confessing. But we do have a new trustee on the board, and I try not to talk up during meetings, but I assume that we are under a theory that we under budget, over appropriate.
Yeah.
And for the new trustee's edification and learning, can you explain that to her and just take her through it? I know you touched on it, but I like the idea, what you said. It was really great about this is what we can legally spend.
That's right.
And this is what we budget. And essentially it's a budget. It's not an exactitude.
Sure. So this budget book is the book that you'll become very familiar with, and we'll have meetings and discuss. And this is the authority that you give us to operate during the year in our day-to-day operations. Sometimes projects may come, emergencies may hit, we may have a main break, and we're going to go over the limit that we could spend in the fund. So the appropriation, what I do is I set a percentage for certain line items like salaries. We know we're not going to go really high, but they're projects that I'll take and I'll inflate by 30%. Some of them may be 40, especially with the construction, because a lot of the line items that we put in is assuming is infrastructure. But then when the invoices start coming in, we have to post them to the right line items. When we do the budget, we don't know in reality how much the cost is going to be. We're doing estimates, right? But sometimes even, I hate to tell you this, but I've never seen a major project where there hasn't been change orders. So you're going to become very familiar with those. So I'm protecting the village with the legal limit in spending when it's above what the book says. So the appropriation protects us. Okay.
And I did pick up my book. So
okay. Okay. Thank you for the confession.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
I didn't get mine.
Okay, I'll get you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any trustee reports?
had something.
Yep.
Okay. So,
See you, Neil.
yeah, thank you. I just wanted to share that a resident contacted me last week. She was contacting me, and I have to read it because I can't remember the name of it, the Welcoming and Inclusive Community Pledge, which was approved, I believe, in June of 2022, which had reaffirmed a resolution previously approved in March of 2017. So this particular resident asked us if we had read the pledge at the meeting. And I said, well, no, we hadn't. I know Mayor Gardner had acknowledged it at the last meeting, but there wasn't a reading. And I honestly did not know what it said. So I had the clerk send me a copy, and I shared with the resident. I said, it doesn't say, that we have to read it every year, but it's maybe something we could consider going forward if other people were in line with that thinking. And I'm just wanted to say I'm super proud to be part of a board that, approved of this and is so welcoming. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And I wanted just to note for everybody or whoever's on Zoom that when I read it, it does say that people can come in and sign it if they would like to. So I did share that with the resident if she felt the need. It's available with the clerk, and the pledge itself says people are welcome to come on in and sign. So I shared that with her, and I'm assuming it would be available if they contact the clerk. So that was the only thing I had. I just didn't know what it said, so I was able to at least communicate that
I
to her.
appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you for conveying that. Any other trustee matters? All right. Not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion trustee Pierce.
Second.
Second trustee Berman. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
All right. Meeting adjourned at 7:21. We'll take a 5-minute recess and reconvene for the committee of the whole meeting. All right. Call the meeting to order at 7:30. This is the committee of the whole meeting. Roll call, please.
Here.
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 Present.
Here.
Present.
Present. All right. Mayoral report. There is none. Citizens wishing to address the board. We take care of that. Now we need approval of the June 14th, 2023 committee of the whole meeting minutes as presented. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
Motion trustee Pierce.
Second.
Second trustee Peterson. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. All right. First item on the regular business is the liquor license application from the Teamster Horsemen. I'll just speak as a liquor commissioner on this. The Teamster Horsemen, as you know, I've been here many times for a special license for a single event. They have applied for a full license. They went through the process. There were no concerns with the applicants. So I know they've gone through with the police and done the fingerprinting and all the good stuff that we need to go through. So they're here looking for a full liquor license. Yeah, so it's for discussion tonight and hopefully moving to the board meeting at the next board meeting. There is, they have one more event between now and the next board meeting, which was approved as a special license tonight. So after that, they should be ready to go. So any discussion on this item on this side? This side discussion, trustee Pierce.
Well, I don't think it would hurt because they're obviously a good social organization that's getting together and doing whatever they do. You go in their club facility and it's very nicely done. And it'll keep me from having to vote every meeting on a special event for them.
And they're sick of coming here, I'm sure. All right. So, all right. Perfect. Anything else on this end? All right. So based on the lack of discussion, we'll move this to the next board meeting for approval or vote. But I don't think you necessarily need to be here. It's up to you. You can come here if you want, but I appreciate you sitting through this. And you don't have to sit through this anymore tonight if you don't want to. It's hot. You're probably bored. So now's your chance to leave if you want to. All right. Next item is the yep, of course. Next is the 15 Lakes grant request. This is Mr. Garrigan's going to present this, and I know some of the applicants are here this evening.
Was there anything in our package review for this?
So let me actually bring that back one step. Mr. Garrigan has been working with the parties on this project. I guess one of the reasons I wanted this on the committee of the whole meeting is that as we're looking at different facade grant requests, that we know what is in the pipeline so that we're thinking about, what our budget is and how that money is going to be allocated. So.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Again, for the record, there is no formal submittal. There's no formal facade grant. That is why you don't have anything in your packet, trustee. This is just really for an introduction of the project. The exciting news is that we have an opportunity to be working with this applicant for the building company known as 919 Main Street. Used to be an embroidery shop for a new restaurant. So we have Dwayne Boslett here from 15 Lakes, who's going to kind of walk you through his concept. But part and parcel of that proposed new restaurant, there will be a facade grant of a historic building. This is the actual building itself. So we will be working with the applicant owner of the building on a facade application. So sometime in the near future, potentially within a month, not only will you have an opportunity to review the plan itself formally, but also more importantly, a facade grant to restore this building. The hope is to remove the faux concrete stone and bring the building back to its historic appearance. So not only there's an opportunity to bring a historic building back to its historic appearance, but more importantly is to bring a new restaurant on Main Street. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bosslet to kind of walk you through his concept for 15 lakes at this property.
I guess I do have some reading material.
Just for people on Zoom, for the record, just introduce yourselves in the microphone because people are watching probably.
Hello, my name is Dwayne Bosslet, one of the owners of 15 Lakes.
My name is Steve Cahoon. I'm another one of the owners of 15 Lakes. The Teamsters are leaving.
The proposal that we're bringing forward for the new restaurant is to have a high-end restaurant downtown in Antioch. To kind of break away from some of the common restaurants that you have there now. I'm looking to bring an elevated gastropub, bistro back downtown to Antioch. We're looking at probably about a 60-seat dining, 65-seat dining, potential year 2, looking at putting a patio off the back of the establishment. It's going to be kind of, have that kind of, higher end feel with higher end steaks, higher end seafood, just an elevated atmosphere. Yeah, we don't have the space for gaming in this location, so we're not going to be putting any gaming in. High end liquor, high end, bourbons, wines, things like that.
And so this is the, not to present for you, this is a schematic that we were presented, or I've seen originally, and then you did have some, I don't know if it's part of your slide deck, you did have some potential elevation or just kind of a look of it, but maybe that's not tonight, but okay.
Yeah, so as you can see that in this diagram here, we would have French doors that open out onto the street, onto Lake Street, or I'm sorry, not the Lake Street, onto Main Street, with a counter seating along that, a long banquette along the southern wall with seats there, seats in the main dining, a large bar. We would take the existing suspended ceiling and open that up because the original tin from the structure is there inside the facility, still there. Needs to get just a very minor, actually, probably restoration to that. We would have the kitchen on the main floor. In the basement, we would retrofit or outfit that to be a prep area and a lot of storage. One thing that we're also in this diagram, you don't see it there, but where there's what looks like a booth, we're actually going to switch that and have counter service seating looking into the kitchen. So a chef's table, kind of more of an interactive situation.
All right. Questions, board members. Again, as you said, preliminary, the parties have been talking. They've obviously indicated that a facade grant request will be coming. So I just wanted the board to know this project is out there, and any questions or concerns about this?
It's pretty exciting.
Are you gonna go around?
Yeah, I'll go around. I'll go. Any questions or comments?
No questions. I like the concept.
Okay.
So,
and I have more information for anybody that wants it.
Yeah, I'd like to have that.
Yeah.
Do you have a time frame in mind when you'd like to be up and running if everything goes through?
Probably we're looking, like with any construction, it'd be hard to guesstimate, but if we hit the ground running, 4 months probably, would be a kind of a good estimate, assuming no setbacks. I've already started pricing out equipment. I've already started putting all that stuff together. I've been talking with 3 different contractors, narrowing down the contractors right now. The landlord actually is here in the room with us right now. He's on board with the project. So all parties involved are basically ready to hit go.
Okay.
So
any ballpark number in mind that you're going to be looking for in this facade grant?
That we do have an estimate of the facade right now, but it's not a final estimate.
Okay. If you're not prepared, that's fine.
Well, I'm saying
no, I know. I mean, not prepared tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. That's no, great. I'm looking forward to it. Looks great.
Trustee McNeil.
No questions from me. Just very excited to see more at future meetings, and good luck with your project.
Oh, thank you. Trustee Pierce.
Not yet.
All right. Trustee Basic.
How many square feet?
I wish you success.
Trustee Peterson.
Good luck. I am very excited about this.
Well,
Can't wait till you're up and running.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for this group before we? All right. So we'll, I'm sure see this on another COW meeting in the future, but just get the introduction there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Next is discussion regarding the future of the park board. I'll just kind of lead this a little bit. We obviously discussed this at our last quarterly meeting. I attended the most recent park board. We discussed this matter, and no resolution yet. One thing that I would like to get some, obviously guidance from the board, how they feel about the park board going forward, not only from a number standpoint, if they exist in their current position. I will say that the first two, this is not sharing any secrets, I don't think, but the first two people we interviewed for assistant village administrator, we brought up the Parks Department and Parks Board, and they had a very, very similar story in their Parks board, and how it started and what it evolved to. So we may be a little bit premature on this, just because I would like to, if one of those two people are the ones that are chosen, pick their brain on how they shifted the focus of the board. But it's open for discussion. As you know, the Parks Board is comprised of 7 members. It used to be 2 alternates, so 9. There are currently 2, now 3 vacant spots out of the 7, so it'd be 4 remaining board members. And I don't want to replace board members if we are doing something else with this commission, or reducing the number to a advisory board of 3, or whatever we decide. But I just want to open it up for discussion. So any discussion on this side of the dais? Trustee Berman.
I'm gonna hold on.
Okay. Trustee Bluthart.
I think the park board as a whole does an amazing job for us here in town. I mean, their efforts are volunteer wise. They're a major asset to this community, and I hate to see us eliminate the park board in any fashion. I'm open to having a discussion about the number of members. I don't know why we need 7 and then 2 alternates. I'd be open to maybe a 5-member board. With the vacancies we currently have, I agree. I think we need to hold off on any immediate appointments until we get to the point of, as a group, deciding how we move forward with the park board. I do have some concerns about the makeup of the park board. I'd like to see us look at making sure that all of our members of the park board are village residents. Moving forward on this new, if we change the makeup of the board, for a variety of reasons, but I believe that the park board should represent, just as we do, the residents of Antioch. And I would like to see us, not just for the park board, for any of our commissions, look at requiring any commission member to be a resident of the village. That being said, I'm open to any suggestions on this. I think that there's a great group of people that are on there currently, and they're doing the best they can. But I think once we get this ironed out, I think opening up some lines of communication with them, so they see and feel that we appreciate their efforts. And but that would be my only comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee McNeil.
I don't really have any comments. I'm just more interested to see what the other board members have to say because I need some help envisioning what it might look like or what some other models would be and pros and cons. I'm just still learning. I think the park board does a great job, but I'm not sure, you know, again, pros and cons of what we need to do. So I'm looking for some other feedback and guidance from the other members before I can really talk too much about it.
Well, on to our senior trustee.
don't lay it on me. So I am concerned about the park board. Number one, finding members for the park board. And number two, the park board is advisory. And sometimes I feel like they don't feel like they're heard by the village board. But at the same time, they are advisory to the village board, which means we may do things different than what they want us to do. There are times when I get the impression the park board, along with their meetings and their advisory role, spend a lot of time volunteering to run events that maybe we should be finding other volunteers and having them participate, but not having them the 100% go-to people to always be there doing things, because they are board. They're not a volunteer organization. So I think we need to look at that. I'm open to looking at all the aspects, whether we keep the board, don't keep the board, adjust the size of the board. I think separately and more imperatively, we need to direct the village attorney to change our ordinance immediately to not allow non-village members to be a member of any board or commission. I don't think we should be waiting for us to decide where we're going with the park board. I think this should be coming to us at the next board meeting because that's a separate issue.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. And we can put that on the next COW meeting to look at the ordinance.
And I was there when they made it so because they couldn't get board members for organizations. They couldn't get them. So then they said, well, let's expand out a little bit. And we were sharing costs with townships and stuff. And we said, okay, we'll allow townships. But I think over the years, it's proven that maybe we should just be including our residents. I think Brent maybe has a good point there also. So I think we need to accelerate that.
All right.
That's all I have.
All right. Trustee Mason.
I think park boards are important. I hate when we say we're getting rid of volunteers. You have moms, dads that want better ideas and they want to come forward for their kids, bring those ideas forefront because they can't rely on village employees who don't live in our village to make the ideas how to have fun. You got to have people that have a stake in our village, and you got employees making decisions. Oh, this is what our park's going to be. They don't, gosh darn, live in our town. So I think, and park board members, they do a lot at the parades. They do a lot of other events. I mean, to get rid of employees that do a lot, you know, it's a mistake. You know, that's what happened with, you know, if you look back, you know, on the fire department, when that went away, they could still have people coming down there on the fire department to do small stuff. I mean, not the first truck out, but just little stuff. Don't get rid of volunteers because they, you know, they have ideas. They have kids growing up. People that don't live here don't understand their parks.
Thank you. Trustee Peterson.
I have a couple of things. I'm open to all discussions and, you know, the size of the board. I too believe that the park board, anyone that serves on a board, an advisory board to the village, they're advising the board whether or not and how to spend money. And I believe that they should be a taxpayer if they're going to sit on a board and advise us how to spend the money. They've paid in if they're a resident. Even if you're a renter, you're paying in with your rent. I just want to make a comment. I work for Warren Township, and I don't live in Warren Township. I live in Antioch, and a lot of the people who work for municipalities and townships do not live within the confines. You know, even in Chicago, you know, they've changed those rules lately. You don't have to live here in order to be an employee, but I think it's different if you're going to be an advisor to the village. You have a vested interest, you pay into it. And it's important that you live within the confines of the village if you're going to be on an advisory board. I'm open to all of it. If this board decides to vote to disband the park board, fine. I don't think we're going to get rid of volunteers. I think this town is built on volunteerism. We're very lucky to have the people that we have living here. And I think that maybe the size of the board, bringing it down to a 5-member board, I like that, Brent. And try that for a few years and see what happens. You know, see how, instead of just disbanding, maybe we should try something for a couple of years and see how it works.
And I did go to the meeting, like I said, and obviously one of the things that I would like to see happen, and I'll have to rely on the village attorney for guidance on this, is we talked about just having, without following the Open Meetings Act, having a round table, whether it's at a parks board meeting or something where the trustees and the board can sit down and, you know, just bounce ideas off each other in a less formal setting. So that's something I'd like to see happen in the next, the next parks meeting will be here before we know it. But, you know, sometime definitely before the August meeting, but just to find out how we could do that legally, because again, they've spent a lot of time, volunteer ideas. I don't want anyone to feel slighted or that they're not, that their time is not valuable, and that we don't appreciate it, because we do. So I want to include them in this discussion, but I think that's the next step in this process.
I'd just like to make one more comment. Having a round table with them would be great. Jimmy, am I correct in stating that if we post it, there may be a majority of a quorum of the village board, and there's going to be a quorum of the park board? Is that all right?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have done that before, where a board, for example, in a different municipality had a very large development, and the initial presentation of the development was done to a combined planning and zoning authority and the village, the corporate authorities, the village board. I don't have a problem having that. We obviously have to post pursuant to the Open Meetings Act of the state of Illinois, which we always do in a timely fashion. And, just leave it open to the public and allow people to have public comment. So we could do it. And I'll obviously send out an email to the mayor, the clerk, and the administrator to make sure the procedures are in place.
All right. So I would suggest two things to the this discussion. One is that the village attorneys look at our commission guidelines or requirements and look at that the village resident portion of it for the next COW meeting or the one after that. And then the interim, we also look for a date to do a little roundtable with the current Parks Board and Mary and her department and whoever else would like to be there. Deal? All right. Last one. Number 4, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board related to a special use for a cannabis dispensary. Mr. Garrigan.
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Pierce.
Your Honor, once again, there's a recommendation from Planning and Zoning Board related for special use. I haven't even seen the recommendation. Again, come here and discuss it with us. It should have been in our package so that we would be able to read it, review it, and be prepared for an open, full discussion. And it's not. I really appreciate when we're going to discuss stuff that it's in the packet as much as possible. I understand Lakes 51 or then it has a basic proposal, but something of this nature, I think, should have been.
Well, again, thank you for your concerns. I know that the mayor has asked me to just provide the board an update. There is no, as you know, there's no formal action. This will, probably be scheduled for our next village board meeting for consideration. But the mayor did ask me to provide the village board an update of what transpired at last night's planning commission.
Was there a recommendation made?
There was a recommendation by the planning commission, which we forwarded to the village board at the next meeting. I'm not going to spend any time talking about the recommendation. I just want to provide the board an update of these two proposed cannabis dispensaries. But obviously, it's the board's prerogative to decide if you'd like to provide you an update. So,
I just have one quick thing.
Trustee Berman.
So on the planning and zoning agenda from last evening, there on that agenda it said 417 East Illinois routes 173.
Correct.
In that, sorry, I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Now, isn't 417 East, wouldn't that be the area where the recovery center is at? Shouldn't it be west so that it would take it?
I'll refresh my memory. I think that's correct. That's the correct address. So we're talking about the retail center between Menards and Walmart. So okay. Obviously, there is no ambiguity with regards to that when the planning commission had an opportunity. So I won't spend a lot of time. I just want to provide the board with a very brief update. As you well know, we have two cannabis dispensaries that are coming through the process. One is for the property at 4117 Route 173, which is the retail center, which is located between Menards and Walmart. That applicant, as you recall, previously had a approved special use for the cannabis dispensary at the Packing House at 510 Main Street. Based on their due diligence, they determined that it was not financially or economically viable to proceed with that transaction. Therefore, they have been working with the owner of the retail center on 173. They did come before the board last night formally for a variance. They are looking for relief from the 1,000-foot setback, daycares, and also special use for a cannabis dispensary. The second applicant came before the planning commission last night for the properties commonly known as regards to the two properties up on Main Street, 453 and 471. As you recall, they did come before the board on a concept. They're coming in for a temporary dispensary trailer and also a permanent future home within a new 9,000 square foot building, which will be constructed on 453 Main Street. They're also asking for a variance from the 1,000-foot setback because they're within 1,000 feet of a child care facility within Oakwood Knoll subdivision, and also a special use for the proposed actual cannabis dispensary. So they will be coming formally. There'll be a formal hearing at the hopefully next village board meeting for both applicants. In addition to that, there was a proposed text amendment that was discussed last night. Whether it would make sense to increase the number of dispensaries. As you recall, when we approved the cannabis dispensary ordinance back in 2019, we approved one cannabis dispensary. In view of the fact that we have two cannabis dispensaries being proposed, there was some discussion of whether it did make sense to increase the number from 1 to 2. So at the next board meeting, you'll be formally being considered both applications for both of these parcels, along with the text amendment. So I just wanted to provide the board with a quick update of what transpired last night.
Yeah, Mr. Garrigan gave a very, you want to address the
well, if there's anything that, legally you want to talk about.
Yeah, no, and Mr. Garrigan gave a very nice recap of what happened. I was going to add a couple of things. Number one, Trustee Pierce, we'll always try to keep you guys informed. This was last night. It was less than 24 hours ago when we adjourned. But again, you can always, we'll call you. We'll make sure that you're updated. Mr. Garrigan, again, gave a very nice recap. There are conditions that are on both of those applications. One of the conditions, I'll go through some of the conditions now, just to evidence the concerns that were addressed during the proceedings. For the variances and the special use permits, there was a condition that they would come back and have site plan approval applications in within 90 days, within 3 months. That's to make sure that they are progressing. And then within 6 months, they will evidence that they are building out with properly issued building permits. For the variances, there was an acknowledgement of the condition. All these conditions were acknowledged by the parties, and I'll put it on the record, one of whom is here tonight. Two of whom are here tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not. Okay. Oh, one of the board, two board members are here tonight, and we also have one of the parties here tonight. So thank you. I apologize. The condition was that if the special use permits didn't go through, the variances wouldn't go through. So the variances would be of no effect if the special use permits didn't go through. For the temporary location that would transfer into the permanent location at neighboring addresses, we put a 6-month temporary, a 6-month condition that they would only be able to operate for 6 months. And then they would transfer to the permanent location, which is, for lack of a better word, a neighboring location, and have 30 days to remove the trailer. That was to make sure that the site is cleared. And it was very clear. The zoning board members who are here tonight, thank you for your time. But they made it very clear that 2 was the maximum number. I was told that many times by everyone who was there last night. So thank you. Also, there was a text amendment proposal that was denied to change the 1,000-foot, which Mr. Garrigan touched on, requirement. And sorry, the last condition, and probably the most important one. We made it very clear, and it was stated in the record at both planning and zoning board hearings, that the initial applicant for what I believe the meat facility is, the packing house. Sorry, I am not from here. But the packing house, that they were rescinding and not going forward with the initial location, and would only be proceeding with the location that's adjacent or next to the Menards in the retail center. So those were all the conditions that were set forth. And that was an effort from the zoning board to show these people and to show the community that it is a balancing act between what is going to be approved and ensuring that it's done in a manner that's consistent with the will of the board. Of course, the PZBA is only a recommending body. That it will come to this board, and this board would need to vote on this to make it final and approved.
All right, I'll start here and I'll come around.
I'll tell you right off the bat, I am not in any way in favor of more than one dispensary. I'm not in favor of having it closer to any childcare centers or schools, young children. That's all I'm going to say right now. So.
Trustee Bluthart.
I attended the planning and zoning meeting last evening. Trustee Peterson was there as well. I recommend highly to the board to, I know it was recorded, but I don't know if it was Zoom or video or just recording, but please watch that. The planning and zoning board and the petitioners did a really nice job of answering and asking a lot of questions regarding these proposals. There were some residents there that would be impacted by the variance on Main Street, or that back up to that piece of property. I don't want to speak for them, but their main concern was more the development of the property, not the dispensary side of it. But once again, I'll let them speak for themselves if they come to another meeting. But it appeared from last night's meeting that everyone, all the parties, the planning and zoning, the village, the property owners, were willing to work with everybody to come up with a site plan, with plannings, with lighting, everything that would help satisfy their concerns, especially over in Oakwood Knolls. Once again, it was a very well ran meeting. The overwhelming majority of the planning and zoning was in favor of these 2 dispensaries. I know this comes up to us to decide on. and all of those numbers, and I guess, I mean, it was a public meeting, but I mean, pretty much it was 5-0 or 4-1 on all of these issues last night of those members that attended. I had some concerns about the 1,000-foot variance until I attended that meeting, and hearing what they were willing to do, and hearing what the residents' concerns were. I think we can come up with something that would satisfy them on that. So I don't have a problem with that at this point. And hearing some of the comments from planning and zoning members about the two different locations and why it would be a benefit, kind of won me over a little bit. And I also think that a little competition brings out the best in everybody. So I think, I think there's enough business there to justify two of these. They would be in totally different areas of town. I think if we could build something into any approval that would limit that, so that if one was to close or something, that they couldn't open up within so many feet or something like that to each other. It was also interesting that one of the applicants made a public declaration that if the village was to approve two, that they might no longer be interested in coming in. So I think this issue could take care of itself depending upon what happens with that. But I think it's something that we need to move forward on. The locations in other towns around us have been built and are up and operating, and the revenue, and it's not all about the revenue, but the revenue is it's a lot. And it would help us offset a lot of expenses, help us improve our parks, do a lot of different things that we're looking to do. So that being said, I am in favor of the variances and the text language to up the number to 2. And then in regards to the special use permits, I'll wait to see the full presentations on those, but I believe I would be in favor of those as well.
All right. Trustee McNeil.
I was not able to attend the meeting, so I appreciate Trustee Blueheart reminding us all that it's on Zoom. So I'm going to go home and watch that so I can learn more. But I would also be open to 2 licenses. I think competition is good, and if someone is knowingly willing to open up with a competitor, so be it. I'm also concerned about losing time on this because all the other municipalities do seem to be up and running, and I drive by these dispensaries and there's lines outside the door, and this seems to have been a slow process. So I will educate myself from last night's meeting, and hopefully we can move forward soon. That's all I have.
Trustee Pierce.
Well, I think as a little bit of history, I think Trustee Masick may have been the only one present on the board when we approved this alongside myself. I can tell you that the vote was myself against, Trustee Yost against, and Trustee Dominiak against. And then the other members of the board, Trustee Polis, he was a yes vote on it with the stipulation that it would be 1 dispensary and 1 dispensary only. And the board promised him at that point it would be 1 and 1 only. I think the spirit of the ordinance was to be a one dispensary town to provide our residents with access if they needed access. But I don't think our spirit was to become a free-for-all, because once you have 2, then you have 3, and as we've learned with the gaming machines, then you have gas stations and everybody else trying to get in on the game and do whatever they want to do to make money, and the revenue's great. I was recently in Reno, and you drive around and the revenue's great, or it was promised to be great, but it's looking kind of sad and tired. And I worry for Antioch that we're going down a road thinking that the revenue's great. And I do see the dispensaries in a lot of towns, and they can either be really nice, clean, bright buildings that you look at and say, wow, that's not too bad. Or they can be a building that's like, oh my God, really? They approve this? But at some point, do we want to be Antioch that families come to? Do we want to take our $15 million investment. And I know we approved 12.5, but we've already spent another 1.5 million. Do we want to take our $15 million investment and say, well, come to Antioch and play in our beautiful downtown, but while you're here, gamble and drink and go get your marijuana, and you want to become the Reno of Illinois just so you can get the revenue. And I think our intention at that time, and I could be wrong, and was that, yes, there is a place for a dispensary, but no, the cost of being the Wild West as we used to be back in the 30s and 40s, when we even had a bomb go off behind one of our bars because they had some gang issues. Do we want to go back to that time frame just so we can get more revenue? And I don't necessarily think that we do. So I would be willing to, approve one of the dispensaries because that's what the board approved in the initial ordinance. I think when we discussed in depth the distances to facilities, from 2 parks, playgrounds, daycares, we really want to stick to that for the main part, to force the dispensaries to not be in downtown, to get them to the outskirts or get them over to the industrial area, somewhere where they weren't a core part of our being. So I know on 83 we've looked at that, and as Brent says, I think the bigger issue there is the development of the property. They every time they tried to develop it, Oakwood Knolls residents have come out and said, it's always been a forest behind my house. I don't want to lose my forest. So I think in that instance, if that's the route we went, the buffering would be very important if we were to choose those areas. 173 over at the Walmart Menards area, I don't think you necessarily have that buffering issue, but you still have a daycare there. So you have to think long and hard, because once you give somebody a variance, everybody else wants the variance. And that's been my experience. So I'm not in favor of variances, and I'm not in this case, and I'm not in favor of expanding the ordinance. So
Trustee Mason.
All right. Illinois is way different than Vegas, Colorado, because the price point in Illinois is $36. I don't smoke it, don't buy it, never have. But I golf with a lot of guys that do. And I ask them, you buy it at the dispensary? No. I go, and aren't you worried about someone putting fentanyl or lacing with some other crap acid or whatever? Nope, I trust who I buy from. We got a fentanyl problem, folks. And if you think a dispensary, but one dispensary may say, it's clean stuff. People use it. And the one they put over on Rollins Road, that's a nice looking building. Haven't been in there, haven't been in one. I did go when I was going to do an investment. I did go look at prices in Colorado. I think it's around $36 here, $12 in Colorado. So here it's cheaper to buy it on the street than it is to go in a store. So the average person's going to buy this on the street from the thug criminal friend and go into a retail store. So when you put competition in, it's not the cost of the marijuana, the gummies. They're paying the tax. That's what's killing the business. Is Illinois has put such a tax burden on it. People are still going to buy it in the street. And as far as the 2 locations, when you live on a main thoroughfare 83, that's subject to development. Simple as that. Then you got to put barriers on it. That was the same thing. We went through discussions with Starbucks, with that one house. You're subject to development when you live on a main thoroughfare. Am I in favor? Yes, I'm in favor. We sit there and go round and round, and we're going to sit there and be the moral police, but we'll give a liquor license. Just doesn't make any gosh darn sense to me. So, you know, like Rebecca said, yeah, we got to move forward on this. We're going to lose the ball game, and you know, someone's going to get laced with something, and you're going to feel bad when something happens. They get some bad stuff off the street. Give them an opportunity if they want to go buy a gummy. Give them the opportunity to buy something clean. You can't judge what they're going to do. They're going to do it anyways. And no one's going to be, if you're going to think people are going to be walking through the parks because they bought at a dispensary versus from their friend Buddy, they're still going to buy it from Buddy because it's cheaper. And there's laws that you can't smoke at parks or golf courses, yet people still do it at parks and golf courses. You can't regulate what people do. The worst smell is after they do it, when you got to smell their leather coats. Wintertime's the worst smell. I don't care what it is, but people do it. It's not the open air.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Peterson.
I just have a couple of things. We live in a unique situation where we have so many corridors coming in here. Just ask the chief of police. He's trying to keep track of them all. 59, 173, 83 on both ends. And why not, for one time, let this be something that we can capitalize on and have a dispensary on 173 coming in, and then a dispensary on 83 coming in. Our proximity to Wisconsin is perfect. And we need to actually move on this before everyone else does. And you know what? They're all going to drive through Antioch to get to the other dispensaries. We're going to have the traffic anyway. We're going to have all these people coming in anyway. That point was brought up last night. I thought it was a very good one. The second thing that came up last night I thought was great was the buffering behind the dispensary up on 83. There's enough room, and the Planning and Zoning Commission wanted them to put up a fence and plantings, arborvitaes, pines that aren't going to lose their leaves all winter long. That they're going to look out the back and see pines. They're not going to see buildings back there. And I understand people don't like change. And we went through this with Walmart. When Walmart was being discussed for out there, they didn't want to see those fields go away. They didn't want to see the deer disappear. But they didn't own the property. They weren't paying the taxes on that property. Someone else is. And that property was zoned M1. Am I correct, Michael? M1 for 40 years. And this was brought up too. They're lucky that it isn't a meat plant back there that they smell hot dogs all day long. You know, it could be something that they don't want even more than this. It could be something that has round the clock manufacturing, 3 different shifts instead of closing at night and opening back up in the morning. So, and this is another thing. Antioch has a lot of bars. We have a lot of entertainment. This is just one more thing. I'm going to say something about my generation. My generation was raised to believe that marijuana was a terrible thing. It was a gateway drug. It was going to ruin your life and ruin the lives of your family and all your neighbors. It was the bane of our existence. Well, we've learned over the years that marijuana, there are people out there that are using marijuana just to stay out of pain. They're using it to relieve their Parkinson's shaking. They're using it to deal with their cancer drugs. They're using it for sleep. They're using it for so many things. And the state of Illinois has decided that it's safe, that it's regulated, and they put in regulations. You can ask the gentleman here that's trying to build the buildings. You have to be 21. No one can bring in a minor child. You can't bring in anyone. And right inside the door, you're carded. You have to have an ID, a picture ID to get in that door. There are all types of safeguards in place. This is safe. And I think that I'm in favor of this. I'm in favor of the two. And I look forward to going forward.
Mr. Chair, I made a mistake. I apologize. I made two mistakes. One, the buffering. There was another condition with regards to the buffering, and it was talked about, and it was Trustee Bluthart started it, and he was my inspiration to remember, and I apologize to the board, but there was buffering as a condition on the property at 453 and 471. And I apologize. The numbers are very close, so I sometimes invert them, but there was buffering. It was talked about. There were three very nice people who came up and talked about, and their concerns were addressed by the board. They were given at least 4 to 5 opportunities to come up and talk rather than just the normal 2 or 1. And then I wasn't here when the 1,000-foot was put in, but it was pointed out very nicely by Mr. Garrigan last night that the 1,000-foot is how the crow flies on both of these measures. That is not the means of normal ingress or egress on that. The 1,000-foot is literally just a straight shot from one location to the other, rather than going through the walkways or sidewalks. Mr. Garrigan, am I correct on that? Okay. So I just want to make sure that's clear, because when we talk about variances, we think about the distances and the practical application of how things move versus what the distance is. Trustee, can I finish? Yeah, no.
That wasn't me. That was Trustee Nathan.
No.
I was just looking at you.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make it clear that it was by how the 1,000-foot is by the crow flies, but it is not how you would walk or drive from one location to the other. I just want to make that clear. And that was a big point of conversation from last night. And Mr. Garrigan, you agree?
Yes. So there's a lot of discussion. The fact there's no access through any of the subdivisions. Oakwood knows, obviously, there's no direct access into this parcel. There's no vehicular access. There'll be no pedestrian access.
Well, obviously, I'm being talked to right here, so I'll respond to this. Just like our gaming machines that has a 250-foot or 500-foot border is from the tip of the building to the tip of the building. So that is how we deal with it here in the village. We don't go, well, we're wandering down this sidewalk, we're going up this road, we're wandering down here. Oh, there's a stop sign here. It's from building to building. So I just want to be clear on that. We understand that. So I just want to be clear. Okay. We understand that. Additionally, I know the other trustees probably want to say.
Yeah, we'll go around one more time, and then I get on to executive session. So I'd start down here again.
Nothing else.
Okay. Trustee Bluthart, anything else?
No, I mean, everything's been mentioned, and I respect what you said about the 1,000 feet and everything else. And that was discussed. That's why I highly recommend just listening to or watching the meeting from last night, because a lot of these issues that everyone's talking about was discussed in detail last evening. So it was very informative. So just, if you could watch that, and I think it will answer or give you some different viewpoint.
All right. Trustee McNeil.
Really nothing else. I'm going to watch the Zoom from planning and zoning, but just to comment on kind of, the image of Antioch and everything. I've taken a field trip just to kind of check out these dispensaries because I was curious. I knew it was on the horizon for the board, and the ones that I visited are very well done. They do check IDs. They're very cautious about who they let in, and if it's designed well, it looks nice. And I don't think there's really any issue with it. So.
I will tell you that I did speak at a senior center event and was debating if I bring this topic up. Thought maybe I'd get booed when I told them we're trying to get a dispensary, and the seniors are asking how soon will it be open. So that was not the answer I expected.
I was also going to comment that some of my neighbors that I didn't expect to be using these products are frequenting other dispensaries, and people that I didn't know, but they have chronic pain or they have diseases, and they're really finding that it's very helpful, and they feel safer buying it from a dispensary than whomever. So
all right, this side, Trustee Pierce.
Obviously, I'm the odd man out in this group, and the decisions may have been made already. I want to address a few things that concern me. One, we talk about 2 or 3 or 2 dispensaries because we want to make sure everybody has access for their injuries. Believe me, I know about PTSD and the effects on people. I know about. I have a nephew who's had part of his brain taken out for epilepsy, and he lives on marijuana. So I understand it. And for my generation, probably brought a lot of these drugs to you guys for the fun and the enjoyment of it. So at the time we were saying it's bad, we were also saying, hey, try this. This is the new one, you know? So, and I talked to my dad, my mom, grandma, my stepmother, I guess you'd call her, his 5th wife. They're doing gummies. So I get people are doing gummies. Okay. And they want to. I don't think kids, when they're out there, are going, I want a gummy, and I'm going to go buy it from the thug criminal on the street. They're going to find their parents' gummy, or they're going to find a gummy in their dresser or somewhere in the house, or a friend will pass one on that they got. I think the bigger problem with fentanyl probably goes to the illicit drugs that somebody's getting, like a Percocet, that they think they can just take a Percocet and we've had a couple of deaths from that in this town. They think they're getting a Valium, or they're getting a Xanax, or they're getting oxycodone, and they're getting an opioid of some sort. It's not the marijuana that they may be. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think it's the harder drugs that can sell cheaper with the fentanyl laced in it. That is what people are looking for, and the dispensaries aren't selling that anyways. It's our CVS and our local Walgreens are selling those that the parents are putting in their cabinet, or that they're coming across the border from China. So if we're doing this because we want to prevent fentanyl deaths, we got to look at other areas where it's coming from besides marijuana, because I don't think it's happening that much there at all. Or if it is, it's very limited. So I am against this. I think it belittles our town. I think if we have one, it provides the access that our residents need for their epilepsy, for their PTSD, for their depression, for the fact that they have some sort of psychological problem. And believe me, my whole family has psychological problems. So I know that it helps. But I think providing access is different than wide open access. And that's what the road we're going down. I don't agree with that. So, yep.
Thank you.
I'm the odd man.
Trustee Mazik.
All right. I'm going to clarify. Illinois, for their testing of their marijuana, is one of the toughest in the countries for heavy metals, pesticides, fertilizers. So if they have a batch when they're growing it, and thank you for growing Bellucci, you learn a lot watching that show that the whole batch is unique, the $500,000 crop. So when someone wants something safe from heavy metals and they don't want to poison themselves because someone's using bad fertilizer, that's a good thing. And the other thing for the older folks that are doing it, because they can't get, doctors can't prescribe Vicodin anymore. So that's why they do it, so they can have normal lives. So they're getting the gummy so they can go out and golf. That's why I golf with a lot of people that sit there when they can't get their Vicodin or they can't get their other stuff to go golf. And that's what relieves them. Either they're taking their Wild Turkey 101, which I call aiming oil, because that works for me, because I won't do the other stuff. Or they're doing a gummy or smoking, but they're doing different stuff. And like I said, I don't believe we're up here, what people do is what people do, and we shouldn't be up here judging what people do. State said it's legal. End of story. Just like drinking a beer.
All right. Trustee Peterson, then Trustee Berman hasn't spoken, so I'll go back there and then.
I don't have anything other than to thank the 2 members of the Planning and Zoning Commission that are here tonight. You did a lot of hard work on this, and I thank you for that. It was very helpful to me to be there last night listening to all of you. Thank you.
Last word?
Yeah, just real quick. You know, I guess I'm a little confused as to why we've already, board had already passed to make it acceptable for a dispensary to be in town. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about people needing it, you know, medicinal use. And nobody up here tonight has stated anything as far as, you know, stating that people shouldn't be using it or that it's a horrible thing. But as I've stated before, there still needs to be some caution with it. It's not just focus at, you know, taking those precautions right on the immediate property. There's other issues, you know, just like there is obviously with alcohol. There is, you know, it does impair driving. It can, and you know, those are things that need to be thought about. And as Trustee Pierce stated, you know, we're not saying we don't want anything here. That was approved for one, and now it just kind of seems that we're just expanding more and more and more when we haven't even started with the one to see how things are going to go. I mean, we don't know. Everybody else can say that there's not going to be any issues, safety issues, crime, whatever else, but until it's here, we don't know that. And then you go and you put two, then you have double the problems. So like I said, nobody is against the use of cannabis. It just precaution needs to be taken.
Thank you. So this is a good discussion. This is not going to be the last one because next time we'll have the whole planning and zoning report, and I'm sure there'll be more discussion. This topics like this, you know, I'm not expecting us to go to a regular meeting and just go vote. So I'm sure this will be back for more discussion on this.
Jim emailed the planning and zoning.
Okay, so
he already did that.
All right, so yeah, I should have the PZB meeting about an hour and 50 minutes, and if you put it on double speed, you can get through it in an hour like I did today. So all right, so anything else, any other business that you want to discuss? All right, any requests for executive session? All right, so we have requests from Trustee Pierce and Trustee Masick for executive session, I'm assuming to discuss personnel
and pending litigation and property acquisition. Any objection?
No action to be taken after executive session. But we need a motion and we have motion, Trustee Pierce, second Trustee Masick, to go into executive session. No further business to take place afterwards. Roll call, please.
Berman?
Yes.
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 Pierce?
Aye.
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
All right. An executive session at 8:32. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you for your time. And